Jonathan?
Happy Tuesday, beloved hearts. This is Amrita Melchizedek, and I'd like to welcome you to today's event, the new 222222 Light Codes Activation. And what an amazing day it is. It's essentially a shift in consciousness for all life upon the sacred earth, where those that are deeply unconscious are waking up to recognizing and realizing that the codes of sovereignty and freedom and self-expression are available, as well as deeper levels of community, and the heart has been ignited and activated through this beautiful threefold flame of power, love, and wisdom, which I will talk about a little bit more in a moment. I wanted to express a little bit more of not only what this day is about, but an understanding of New Earth and the New Earth energies, and what we are experiencing collectively as we shift into that next level of cosmic class consciousness and hold our frequency there and expand our bandwidth collectively as the Iron Avatar race, and all that this brings for us as the future of humanity, as the light of God upon the sacred earth. So essentially, what is being experienced at the moment is the merging of multidimensional timelines, and they're occurring simultaneously. So it just really depends where we are on our level of cosmic conscious awareness of what we're going to be experiencing in each now moment. So what is being expressed and felt is just a deepening of that beautiful flame of divine love that is expressed through us as the divine feminine. And as we hold that love frequency, as we just come into that nurturing self-love, self-appreciation, and connect ever deeper, not only into our loving hearts, but into the heart of Gaia as our divine mother, we are connecting into that unity mode of divine love, and we're receiving a lot of those templates and light codes that come through from the unity grid of divine love. And essentially, it's allowing for a greater flow of our own beautiful, magnificent light through the magical innocent child, or what we call the Christ child. But before we can fully embody that, we take that divine, feminine, nurturing, loving frequency, and we hear the karmic timelines, we hear the 3D, 4D timelines, and we start to merge into the expression of our divine masculine energy. And then we birth the magical innocent child, our holy innocence, our purity, our divinity, and we stay within that sacred space for a while, because that is essentially 0 point. That is essentially being in the heart of love. And that's part of that dimensional shift in consciousness. And simultaneously, of course, we're experiencing not only the photonic light frequencies that are activating within the body, but also the plasma light frequencies that come through from the sun, from the moon, and of course from the ray frequencies that are overlapping us upon this sacred earth. So I wanted to break down a little bit of an understanding of essentially what is New Earth, and how are we experiencing the 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D timelines, because that's really where we are collectively. And from then, how these beautiful ray frequencies are activating for us in these merging timelines and deepening levels of expression of our own consciousness as these beautiful flames of divinity and of course light of God. So I think we're all quite familiar with the 3D timelines, and there's absolutely no way for us to bypass those karmic timelines. It's essentially, we come here mostly very unconscious, very fast asleep, and we have to awaken through the initial 3D timelines. But in that deep sleep, in that conscious state, we experiencing a lot of those karmic contracts, which is also part of the soul agreement that we took on to not only shift frequency ourselves and to understand what others are going through the full range of human emotion, but also essentially to elevate frequency upon the sacred earth, to elevate the consciousness, to hold the consciousness as a vibrating stargates of divine love. And so we've moved through the karmic timelines until that first level of awakening. And that first level of awakening for many of us, of course, leading up to that, is that perceived sense of things haven't felt right, or that things are just not fitting. Our life is not fitting of how we imagined it would be, or where we would like to be, and we start to fill that void with the light of God in our own way. And that's our initial awakening. And so for many of us, it depends on that collective resonance that we've had through most of those timelines, is the resonance that we enter into first, which is possibly angelic or galactic, the Christ and ETs. For some, it's the archangels and angels. Others are just deepening into the mystery school teachings, ancient Egypt, Atlantis, Lemuria, consciousness. Others, it's just the dolphins, the whales, the fairy timelines, nature, even the shamanism, the healing, herbal energy. All of those are timelines that we have experienced in different multi-dimensional timelines, in different levels of our own consciousness running parallel to this timeline that we're experiencing at this time. And that first awakening there, we're connecting to our soul frequency, and we're connecting to all these beautiful angelic beings and illumined beings of light from on high that are existing fifth dimension and beyond. For us to be able to get the assistance that we need in amplifying our frequency, our vibration, and to have the awareness, to have the tools to be able to work with a lot of those old programmings, to dismantle the old earth programmings, false beliefs and judgments, simultaneously starting to merge into the new earth timeline, starting to merge multidimensionally through these various timelines. And in fact, it's 144 solar aspects of self, which we also call the monadic consciousness. We call the Christ over self, or the beloved I am presence. It doesn't really matter, all these terms are interchangeable. But we integrate the soul frequency. That's when we start to move fourth dimensionally. We start to integrate into that photonic light frequency, which is the soul embodiment. And as we deepen into that, then we shift in consciousness. All of this is about dimensional shifting in consciousness, and we can shift into various timelines simultaneously. And how we do that is that we actually experience that state of consciousness and hold that consciousness still for long enough that the light body DNA starts to program the light pockets or packets of information from within. And this is essentially how we start to initially elevate our consciousness. And connecting into nature is a huge part of that for us too. Where it's being out in nature, where it's being in the mountains and in the sea, and there are many, many reasons for that. Not only in just grounding and connecting to the sacred heart of Gaia, and of course into the beautiful grids of light and the unity grid or crystalline grid that exists within us and around us, because that's connecting us in cosmic Christ consciousness to one another, to what we call the I am avatar consciousness of light, which is the higher light of all awakening and awakened souls upon the sacred earth, or the beloved I am presence. And as we're doing that what we will find, this is as we're moving from the fourth dimension into the fifth dimension, where the clearing still goes on, but it's done now in observational awareness as the witnessing presence of the beloved I am. So we're no longer in that field of reactivity, and from the third, fourth dimensional perspective, well, at least from the fourth dimensional perspective, we're deepening into expanding the height at that particular time, where we are forgiving, where we're loving, where we're releasing judgment, and we're releasing blame. And as we hold the consciousness, we start to shift into the fifth dimension. So the fifth dimension is initially the state of consciousness where we enter into 0 point. And as we enter into 0 point and the heart awakens, simultaneously the pineal gland is being activated because we're releasing the density. We're starting to release and dismantle a lot of those old frequency programs, and perhaps what release is not the right word, but that is what we call it or experience it as initially. But essentially we're transcending those old timelines, which are then collapsing and dissolving as we refine our frequency and move into higher dimensional states of consciousness. But that's just the first stage for us. So as we deepen into the experience of soul embodiment, which is a photonic light activating through the body, we experience these almost like waves upon waves of energy. But everything is like a surreal dream state. Some people call it like free-floating. You feel like a sense of you just, in some ways, that lack of density. The physical body can't do a lot of the things that it did before. You actually essentially slow down. You can't work the way you did before. You can't exercise the way that you did before. You're just shifting perspectives a lot of the time into various levels of truth. And consciousness, while you have to go through and into every subatomic particle in the body for the crystalline consciousness to activate. So that's essentially then the physical ascension process, which usually only happens from about the 6th dimension. So that initial dimensional stage, what we're doing and what we're experiencing is simply being in the heart of love. And the pineal gland is activating, and as we're releasing the density within the physical body, more spiritual light is coming in. So while the physical body doesn't hold the same physical strength, our light is increasing, our strength is in light. But we slow down so completely, and for a very, very long time, it's actually that movement forward is more of the doing energy, which is the integration of that divine masculine frequency, divine father energy, which is very much that 6th dimensional level of consciousness. And as we integrate the divine feminine, the divine mother, and the divine father, the divine masculine, then we start to birth the holy innocence, the magical innocent child. And this then allows for new levels of not only cosmic conscious awareness, but simultaneously we're traveling through and merging with our multidimensional selves. Solar level, interstellar, galactic, intergalactic, universal, multi-universal levels. So we are moving through so many of these timelines which we may know or experience or remember as those ancient memories start to come alive, of timelines of being an initiate, timelines of being a priest and priestess, timelines of self-mastery, timelines of being a mermaid or a dolphin, or being a Syrian or a Pleiadian or a Andromedan. It doesn't really matter. It's really essentially integrating all these multidimensional aspects of self that are our soul. And our soul and our light body are the same. It's just the light within us. The light within us is our soul consciousness. And in the beginning of that journey, the soul and the luminous beings, they're all 5th dimensional and above, are outside of us. And as we deepen into the integration of our own beloved I am presence, everything starts to come within. So New Earth is created from within, but it's also a connection into Gaia initially, into that deep heart of love and unity consciousness, which is expressed through Gaia as the divine mother energy that connects us as the way showers and grid keepers and portals of light into the New Earth grid, into that crystalline consciousness of light. And that is what we call the 144 unity grid of divine love. Within that, we've got the sacred geometries, numerologies, fractal geometries, sound and color frequencies, as well as the energy of the ray frequencies, which I'm going to express and share a little bit more about in a minute. But we are creating from within the light packets of information, and it's almost like building blocks. We're given a little bit of that puzzle piece, and as we hold the consciousness and we expand the consciousness, for a while it will be that the consciousness expands way beyond the body, and it feels just lacking in that coordination ourselves, our physical bodies, because we're still dreaming and programming everything into creation. And at some point, that consciousness just completely enters the body as complete light. And that is that first level of physical ascension. But there's not just the fifth dimension or the sixth dimension. In fact, I think that templating for us has been done by many that have gone before, up until at least the 12th dimension that we can access. But those that I've spoken to that have actually created or experienced these templates and then created it for us have experienced up to the 40th dimension, for example. And you shifting consciousness each time, and that's what today is about. It's a huge big shift in consciousness and simultaneously dissolving or collapsing the lower timelines. And the lower timeline that's primarily dissolving and collapsing right now is related to the first real within power. So in terms of the rate frequencies and energies, what we experience as we start to deepen into the heart of divine love is the activation of the threefold flame of power, love, and wisdom from within. In the remembrance of this is actually plasma light frequencies. And these plasma light frequencies then expand around the body in flames of light. And those flames of light are purification flames of light. They are absolutely beautiful purification light grids that burn up all the dross, that assist in dismantling the old earth templates, programming, false beliefs, and judgments. And so many of us that are familiar with the frequency and the energy of the rays perhaps understand or have heard the story in 104,000 BC, where Sanaka Mara was put out a call to 144,000 light beings in different star systems and galaxies to bring their light and energy and frequency to the sacred earth, to lift the consciousness and to hold the unity grids in place. And part of this then from Venus was the creation of the Shambhala, the cities of light, which we know is somewhere directly over the Himalayas and Tibet. And this frequency and energy then, for many initiates, to find themselves into the experience of these rays and initiations, often would physically travel. The masters, as we know, the masters of the East, many of the beautiful yogis, gurus, and teachers of the past would physically find their way into the Himalayas, into there with a very big vortex into Tibet as well, experiencing these rays, experiencing these initiations, making that connection to the inner plane and the rays and the masters. And so it's really recognizing now that all of that is really coming from within, when we ignite and activating our light frequency. And as we do this, not only are we dismantling the old frequencies and energies, but it's to recognize where this plasma light or ray frequencies are coming from. So the sun and the solar flares are bringing through the plasma light, and that's very much the crystalline consciousness, the Christ consciousness aspects of self. And the moon itself brings through the plasma light, and that's also related to, although we think of it as the divine feminine, it's also actually related, that plasma light frequency, to the energy of the divine masculine. So we've got again this divine masculine and divine feminine integrating and birthing into what we experience as a doorway of the inner Christ, as this threefold flame, representing the Holy Mother, the Holy Father, and the Holy Child. And the Divine Mother for us, as I was expressing, that first level of connection is very much into the energy of Gaia. And with that, what we then deepen into is the templates of the new earth through the crystalline grids, and then start to program and activate them from within as we hold our consciousness for long enough at particular levels for the light body DNA to start to program the light body. And so we have then the solar light body where the crystals come on, and then we've got the plasma light body, and we've got the galactic light body, and we've got the God consciousness light body. There's various levels that we move through as we also multidimensionally start to merge and integrate. these higher dimensional aspects of self also running karmic timelines, because that karma is not only 3D, that karma is off planet and experienced in many different levels of ourselves. So this, we can think of today, Ascension as Phoenix rebirthing. It's really every man, woman, and child upon the sacred earth that are choosing the next level of the soul's forward evolution are experiencing these beautiful sun codes, which are amplifying and coming through as this beautiful golden solar sun disk within the loving heart. And within that too, we also have these mini golden solar sun disks activating, because it's connected into the unity with the divine love. And we have also these beautiful solar disks that are related more to the feminine. And these disks are activating along the spine. There's like 33 of these Sophia Christos, beautiful plasma silver discs that are activating. And all of this is done initially through the chakras and through the templating, this creating the new earth. And that's essentially a fourth, fifth dimensional frequency of consciousness and experience, because at some point, what happens in this chakra starts to merge into one unified column of light. But for a while, the lower chakras are representing the lower dimensions for us. And so we're clearing these templates, we're clearing lacquer in every area of our life. And the big thing that's coming up that I've expressed at the moment is that Atlantean timelines and Leburian timelines. But the Atlantean timelines are the fall in consciousness, and with that to elevate our consciousness into the timeline of being a priest and priestess. And the Leburian timelines is really essentially that threefold flame. And to get to that timeline, into that rainbow light frequency, initially we have to move through the shift and fall in consciousness by nurturing and loving, forgiving and letting go, and then we elevate our consciousness and we transcend dimensionally from one level of consciousness to another. And what happens also, sort of ongoing process where we holding our consciousness, when we step into that ever-present now moment, with the heart continually activating into 0 point and starting to create the stargate of the loving heart, and we're creating also a beautiful stargate from the navel and also another one from the perineum center. These are the newer stargates. And part of this is essentially being experienced within the new earth as templates that are activating from within to hold the consciousness, and then sometimes we drop in consciousness. So when we drop in consciousness, it's because we actually have to go into that feeling or that experience again that we're still working with. And so it's quite an interesting one, and so we can continue to hold our consciousness and simply observe and those moments of recognizing what's coming up and very quickly releasing. At that initial stage is we actually have to go in to those old programmings, those traumas, those false beliefs, those judgments, that pain, that grief, and hold our frequency and energy there. But we do it as the light of God that we are. We do it as this beautiful, sacred, transfiguring flame. And so it's to recognize that all this work is done without judgment and without blame. And when we get to that point, we can then move very quickly from one level of consciousness into another, from one dimension into the next, because we're no longer needing to sit in it, or we're no longer reactive, and then we no longer need to experience that discomfort. And when we're experiencing it, it's also very uncomfortable because it's a very physiological process that we're moving through. So we may be experiencing a lot of heart palpitations, we may be experiencing a lot of headaches as the third eye is expanding, we may be experiencing a lot of backache, we may be experiencing a lot of stuff up and down the spine, because the spine becomes an operating system. There's so many different things that are being experienced for us in this Phoenix rebirthing, into holding our frequency and energy in the fifth dimension, merging with the feminine, merging with the masculine, and then experiencing this physical ascension. So the physical ascension is really when actually become crystalline consciousness. And in New Earth, there are no physical ailments that are of any disease or discomfort, because everything is light, and light is healing. In fact, you can think of the programmings and light packets of information that are coming online as little nanotechnology, as, kind of like these just tiny, tiny little cells of intelligence that are all talking to each other, and that they're repairing and knitting as that. So tonal lines are coming on as the spin points are vibrating to particular spins, to particular frequencies. So the faster the spin, of course, the faster the vibration. And what we're doing is that we experience that when we slow down, when everything comes to a standpoint initially, and it's just the heart activating at deeper levels in the pineal gland, and then that's also activating the pituitary, the pineal, the hypothalamus, thalamus glands. All of that are activating simultaneously. And of course, we're all hearing what we're doing, and we're doing our service with. We're getting out there and we're sharing so much of our beautiful light and energy, because that's really what's needed now. But that's actually how we expand our light field. And so the other thing that's coming online at the same time is that we use initially the Merkaba field, which we use through the star tetrahedron, that we can also assist us, that spin, to get us into the fifth dimension and hold our consciousness there while the light body DNA starts to create or repair or bring online those new Earth template light codes. And today is the day where we are experiencing collectively, for humanity, just a deepening into that heart of love and that heart of wisdom and that heart of empowerment. That is the heart of empowerment representing the divine masculine. That is that first ray, that beautiful blue flame of raw and power. And that is what's most difficult for people, because there's still so much external abuse and misuse of power. And not only have we experienced it personally, we experienced our own victim persecutor consciousness that we're carrying. And from a third, fourth dimensional level of consciousness, there is the forgiveness, there is the nurturing, there is the compassion, the highest form of love, where we release that compromise, which is the anger. The anger is always compromise. Where we release the judgment, where we release the grief, that sadness of what is going on this sacred earth, and we just hold it in divine neutrality through the loving heart and the wisdom of the higher mind. And as we do that, we start to experience these new realities where we're birthing this magical innocent child, which is our soul innocence. And that soul innocence is a very interesting experience, because it's initially very much a state of beingness, where we simply observing. It's like the stillness of the higher mind is coming online. It's the wisdom aspect of these beautiful ray frequencies activating from within. But there is no clutter within the mind, but there's also no expression of what is that next level of service work it needs for a while. It's like just to be in nature, to be outside, to do the joy, to experience the passion, and then we bring online after that time that is perfect for us. And usually these periods are about 2 years in total, and we go into the next level, and the next level, of course, it really depends on how much time we can commit, because of course time itself slows down and then disappears. Once we release the past, and we're just sitting in the ever-present now moment where the future has yet to be created. So we're in a place and space collectively where the heart is expanding into new levels of unity and love, and we're clearing them from the sacred earth and from within us abuse and misuse of power. And that's very much that Atlantean timeline, but that fallen consciousness, of course, we have experienced in so many different timelines. And so we're experiencing it now, again, to elevate or raise the frequency of all love on this sacred earth, because this is where we are right now. We're not only the future of humanity, we're not only the vibrating stargate and portal, but through that connection into the one for unity with the divine love, all love is expressing into that next level of their soul's forward evolution, and we're doing it collectively, holding that light field. And it's an absolutely beautiful thing. Simultaneous to all of this, as more light is activated and enters the body, as I expressed, you may have that sense of consciousness expanding and then like a sense of it contracting, because that's what we're doing. It's like we're aligning and we misalign. We expand and then we contract. And the reason for that is because we then not only have the remembrance of that level of consciousness we were and how to experience it again, but that frequency that we're in now shows us that there's still something that we're clearing in that timeline, in that frequency. And then as we can, again, compassionately, lovingly, without blame and without judgment, bring it into our loving hearts, that's again when we start to elevate our consciousness. And then as we hold our consciousness for longer and longer, so much is being activated from within, including the energy of the ray frequencies that activate through the DNA. So there's 12, in the system of energy that I use, there are 12 earthly rays, and there are 6 cosmic rays. But what we're going to be just expressing or talking about today is the integration of these beautiful threefold flames of power, love, and wisdom. And one more ray frequency that comes to mind, which is this beautiful violet flame, because the violet flame, which many know is the 7th ray of ceremonial magic, or the ray of transformation. I also call it the patterns of perfection. It represents very much the patterns of perfection. Some of you may be familiar with this through the overlighting of Saint Germain, because it's just been a ray frequency that has been vibrating upon the sacred earth for a very, very long time. And it's gathered in momentum through not only the held on the inner planes collectively and imbuing all the ray frequencies coming to the sacred earth, but also through all of us as the portals of light, holding that frequency of this beautiful violet flame of transmutation, of change, of freedom, and in fact also of abundance. It's about dismantling of old structures and bringing online new structures, and that's essentially what we're doing right now. And it's simply that all ray frequencies pass through the energy of the 7th ray, or the beautiful violet flame. And others have asked me, what colors are the rays, or are there a particular color? If we talk about blue as the first ray, if we talk about pink as the love, wisdom ray, if we talk about a golden yellow flame for the ray of divine intelligence, what do these colors look like? And I have to say they're all colors. They're all, or rather, graduations of specific colors, and then there are other colors added to it. So it could be light blue sometimes, it could be dark blue sometimes, it could be dark pink, light pink. All these hues of particular colors, all particular frequencies and qualities within them too, that we're needing or integrating or expanding from within. And then essentially too, what we are doing is that we're using those beautiful ray frequencies to not only create our own I am avatar bodies of light, our own beautiful light bodies that are coming online in different hues and frequencies and vibrations. But when we connect it into the unity grid, into the crystalline grid, into the solar grid, these grids all extend into various levels as well, depending on the dimensions that we're working from. We are igniting and activating them from within out, and simultaneously we're receiving from out, coming in into the different areas within ourselves that are still possibly built in those templates. But the big thing that is happening is that we're also deepening into community and how we can come together in community. That's a very important aspect of New Earth, where we release a lot of the ego aspect, the human aspect, the 3D aspects of consciousness or self, and the unconscious aspect into a greater level of wholeness and consciousness and love and wisdom. And then we see how can we best come together, how can we best live, how can we create our life centers, or how can we create the programs of light coming together and sharing that with others, because that's really what that we're needing upon this sacred earth, is that level of consciousness and light and information and expression of love that will awaken all hearts. And so I just put it out there to you, because part of what is being experienced today is not only the birthing at a deeper level of that magical innocent child, of our holy, divine Christ itself, but also it's about the birthing of the next levels of our service work and bringing through a lot. The 2-2 codes are very much total Christ consciousness. It's a crystalline consciousness. 2-2 codes are very much deepening into the recognition of ourselves as initiates or priests and priestesses, and that information is coming through those ancient memories. And then the 2-2 codes are the expression of new levels of creation or new templates coming online collectively that will simply expand with grace and ease into the next level of our collective service work and into the next level of our collective light. So it's very much a time where we simply just are connecting into just incredible deepening heart of divine love, of divine wisdom and divine power, and power that comes from within, that is illuminated by the light of God and the reverence to deepen into sovereignty and empowerment and freedom and expression of self, where we are just the guides and you are teachers. And really, we don't say teachers so much when we talk about New Earth. We really just talk about guides. But for those waking up, they would certainly call us teachers. So it doesn't really matter what we call ourselves. I'm talking from a linear and a multi-dimensional perspective, and all words really aren't just having the same meaning. So what I wanted to do with us today is take us through just this beautiful meditation where we are connected into the heart of Gaia. And from there, part of that experience then through the unity grids, coming together in collective consciousness, is the merging and integration of the divine feminine, merging and integration of the divine masculine, in creating the beautiful golden rose within our hearts. And that golden rose energy experience right now is just such a beautiful galactic blend as well of the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies. That's really at a cosmical, rather galactic level is what we're experiencing. And within that, that first ray then really is essentially a galactic consciousness. It's a power that comes from our galactic Christ consciousness. And the feminine, the ray of love wisdom, is really what starts to ignite into that third ray of divine intelligence, which is the innocence. And so everything is experienced from the holy aspects of ourselves that are merging into the galactic aspects, the Christ aspects, the galactic aspects, and then birthing that magical innocence within our divinity as the light of God we are upon this sacred earth. Alright, so I'm going to take us into this beautiful transmission, and just to suggest, if you may like to, is to bring yourself into closing your eyes and breathing deeply, because our breath is consciousness. Our breath is the way that we deepen into our beingness. Our breath is the way that shows us what is being experienced within our body, what is being experienced in different levels of our own consciousness and light, that is activating from within to not only create that new earth frequency and vibration that we wish to experience within our universe, but that is bringing in others initially in a similar resonance and frequency, but also then extending that out upon the sacred earth and through the unity grid of divine love into Gaia, so that all those light codes are made available for all life upon the sacred earth. So let's just start with this beautiful breath of life. Just taking ourselves deep into the breath, and if it feels right for you, within this breath, just closing your eyes and coming into the stillness initially of the loving heart by simply breathing deep into the body, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose or mouth. Just having a sense of how you're doing today, how you are feeling. If there's any area of discomfort within your own body, just start to take this beautiful light of consciousness, your beautiful soul light, and start to move it into the body, to every subatomic particle within the body. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nasal mouth. Breathing in love, breathing out love. And as this is occurring, you may have a sense of the Kundalini energy starting to ignite and activate. And as this beautiful pranic healing energy starts to move through the body, just visualize and sense these beautiful golden infinity circles moving up and down the spine, allowing for this gateway and this passage to allow a new frequency, to allow a new dimensional shift in consciousness to occur as you lift your vibration and frequency as the light of God you are. And taking a moment to say to I love you, giving your full name now. I love you. I love you. And as the heart starts to expand now in this beautiful threefold flame, this beautiful pink of love, wisdom, this beautiful golden yellow of divine intelligence, beautiful blue of this first ray of woman power, forming within the sacred heart. Just allow this love an expansion of your own beautiful sunlight to move into those spaces and places where you need that love yourself, into those old earth programmings, templating, pain, trauma, grief, sadness, anger, bringing it all into the open heart as this flame of divinity, as this master being of light. As these beautiful flames now expand around the body and energy field, allowing these flames to create this powerful fire of transmutation wrapped now this violet flame. Within the rays too, there may be different colors, gold, diamond, platinum, that are energetically weaved into this beautiful threefold flame. And as you bring all the sub-personality aspects of yourself that may need your love, that may need your compassion and understanding into your loving heart, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, simply sit with this for a moment as you now breathe in love and hold the breath for as long as you can, and then breathe out all that is ready to be released. As my beloved, I am present. And the beloved, I am present of all awakening and awakened souls, ascending into new earth. We activate this beautiful threefold flame of power, love, and wisdom from within, and expand it around our body and energy field, as collectively we can connect into the unity grid of divine love, into the 144 crystalline grid of solar Christ consciousness. And now, feeling and sensing the beloved higher line as the I am avatar consciousness of life. Feeling and sensing all awakening and awakened souls as we further connect into the heart of Gaia as one heart and one love and one unified field of light. And we do this initially through the expression of our own divinity, by seeing and sensing all those within our lives, sending this beautiful threefold flame from our hearts to theirs, in gratitude and appreciation, no matter what the experience may have been. As we continue to breathe deep into the body, breathing in love, holding the breath, and breathing out all that is ready to be released, transmuted, fine-tuned, or dissolved. We bring to mind all the beloveds within our lives, holding them in this beautiful threefold flame, expressing our gratitude, expressing our love. And we'll extend this circle to bring in many of those with whom we have traveled the karmic timeline, without blame, without judgment. Recognizing at a soul level that all was chosen and simply all is choice. To awaken from the slumber of our unconsciousness, to being once more conscious and awake, vibrating stargate, flames of divinity, the future of humanity upon the sacred earth. Choosing to experience our highest potential in the next level of our soul's blossoming, magnificence, and light. We deepen into the experience of our own beautiful soul now, to our purity, innocence, divinity, feeling and sensing now the light from within expanding, feeling and sensing our own energy field expanding between 30 and 55 feet in diameter around us. And within this and through the unity grid of divine love, as we connect to our soul and star brothers and sisters of light, we have a sense of all the sacred geometries and numerologies, fractal geometries, sound and color frequencies activating from within, going out. We are ready now to go deep, deep within, to activate the light codes, the newer templates and stargates of new life. And this beautiful 222 gateway allows this connection to all life upon this sacred earth through their beloved I am presence. So every man, woman, and child upon this sacred earth can experience threefold flame, power, love, and wisdom. Beautiful violet flame, transmutation, and change. As we extend our own frequency and energy, we visualize and sense within this beautiful diamond sphere, 30 to 55 feet in diameter around us, this golden flower of life, bringing online initially the codes of the priest, priestess, as initiates of life. The 222 code. And now, as we ignite ever deeper into the unity where there's one heart and one love and one unified field of light, we wrap Mother Earth and all her life. This beautiful violet flame, this beautiful blue flame of power and might, this beautiful golden yellow flame of wisdom and knowing, divine intelligence, activating to the pineal gland, allowing this frequency and energy to ignite through the pineal and into the third eye, and to connect now into the loving heart. Through this ray of love, wisdom, this beautiful pink flame, and allowing simply within for all to be embraced within our loving heart, embracing, transcending all limiting beliefs, programs, judgments, and old earth-winning, along with all levels of victim and persecutor consciousness. As we gently love and nurture all that arises from within our loving heart and reflect it outwards in the change that is upon this sacred earth right here, right now, through the 222 prayers. Shift in consciousness, all life upon this sacred earth. That is a choice. And as our body starts to gently move backwards and forwards, from side to side, as the witnessing presence of our beloved I am, bring into our loving heart with compassion, with nurturing, and with love, all that needs to be fine-tuned, heard, and appreciated to know ourselves as well. As we continue to breathe deep into the body, breathing in now, holding the breath, breathing out all that is ready to be released. All shallow breaths, sucking in as though sucking in through a straw and blowing out. Whatever is needed as we create from within unified fields of life. As each cell, each molecule that needs our love, experiencing photonic light and our plasma light, deepens into receiving sun codes of light through the activation and ignition. This beautiful solar sun disk within the loving heart. now through each one of the chakras, weaves these beautiful mini golden solar sun discs that have been experienced through the unity grid of divine love, igniting once more to lift us into that next level of solar Christ consciousness, into that which we call right now the fifth dimension. Simultaneous to this, we experience now the activation of these beautiful silver lunar discs, representing perhaps more of the divine feminine energy, the masculine and feminine merging, integrating in experience right here, right now, through our own divine feminine and our own divine masculine spirit. In this new alchemical planet is a phoenix rising, releasing all that needs to be released as we walk through each feeling, each memory, each emotion as the light of God we are, reclaiming our innocence and divinity simply by expanding our soul life through each cell, through each molecule in the body, continuing this deep rhythmic way, observing and loving all that arises, to transcend and shift out of the old grids and into new ones, expanding the lower atom of the in-breath and contracting the lower atom on the out-breath, feeling this expansion and contraction within every cell of our body, knowing the innocence we are and all that needs to be embraced to birth as magical innocent child. We have a sense now of this beautiful pink ray connecting initially through our heart into the energy of the divine feminine, into the energy of the sisterhood of the rose, brotherhood of the light, holding this beautiful flame of love, wisdom in the inner planes. Just feeling and sensing the honoring of all women now initially through this. Every woman within our life, our mothers, our sisters, our partners, our friends. In the reverence of the divine feminine, we connect into the energy of the divine mother. And through that connection into Gaia, we have a sense too, simultaneous to this, of connecting into the inner earth sun and the heart of Gaia, into their crystal heart, to this beautiful golden solar sun disk within our loving hearts, to the sun, central sun, great central sun, and bring it all back into the heart as we start to create a new earth in reverence for ourselves, in love for ourselves, and extending this nurturing, loving energy of the divine feminine to all the women we know. Breathing in love, breathing out love. Simultaneously, we now clear the wounding of the divine mother, of the grief, sadness, pain, closed heart. As the heart expands from within, we release all distortion of the feminine. Simply reverence and love exists. And now we have a sense of connecting to the divine Father in this beautiful pink flame of love crystal. To all the divine masculine aspects of self that are integrating. Further extend this beautiful pink flame out to all the men within our lives. To the Father, to the brothers, to the partners, to the ex-partners, to the karmic men, to all men upon the sacred earth, allowing the reverence for the divine masculine to be programmed and created from within our bodies and to expand and pulse through the unity grid of divine love as all life shifts in consciousness, in reverence, in wisdom, in knowing, and in divine love. As we continue to breathe deep into the body, breathing in love, breathing out love. With this, we clear the heartache of unconsciousness of humanity, of the pain within the world. Heartache of karmic relationships with our parents, with our children, with our partners, ex-partners. As we experience this, we have a sense of moving into different areas in our body, sensing the clearing and purification of each body part and organ. As we breathe in love now and hold the breath and breathe out all that is ready to be released. And now we do this experience by working with the wisdom of the higher mind as the pineal gland is activating and allowing these ancient memories to come alive. We take this beautiful golden yellow flame of divine intelligence through the third eye and connect to the third eye of all awakening and awakened souls in a new level of reverence, information, wisdom, and light, knowing, and consciousness. Wrapping Mother Earth and all her life in this beautiful golden yellow flame, which is already experiencing this beautiful pink flame, this beautiful violet flame. Feeling and sensing the pulsation, the activation through our own third eyes and from the pineal moving into hypothalamus and thalamus, to the left and right hemispheres of the brain. Breathing deep into the body, breathing out, holding the breath and breathing out all that is ready to be released. allowing the shift in consciousness to occur. Just feeling and sensing your own consciousness shifting as your vibration and frequency is lifting. The Kundalini or tantric channels are activating. External lines are coming online, healing the body parts and organs. The higher mind, the wisdom of the higher mind, divine intelligence. And the core group overlighting the spirit ray from the inner planes, further assisting in bringing down and imbuing the sacred earth in this beautiful ray that is igniting from within, from the loving heart, around the body and energy field. Beautiful golden yellow flame of wisdom and divine intelligence, purifying the lower mind, lifting the consciousness into new earth. Feeling this connection, this group, collective consciousness of the I Am Avatar rays. Feeling how your own energy is expanding and connecting with the stargates to all awakened souls. In your own parts of light, expanding these flames upon waves of light. And now sensing and experiencing this beautiful blue flame. Beautiful blue flame of light, releasing the seas and abuse of power. Abuse of any kind. Experience from the collective of consciousness. As we experience now this ray coming through the throat chakra, new expressions of respect and honor and reverence, of fine-tuning the frequencies within ourselves and simultaneously upon the sacred earth. Just feeling the plasma-like frequencies ignited through the energy of the sun, through the energy of the moon, from within, and sensing too the inner plane core groups holding this beautiful ray of woman power as we direct it through the sacred earth, through the unity grid, holding it within our core groups and into the hearts of every man, woman and child upon the sacred earth, as well as through the throat. We can speak gently and lovingly and respectfully to one another as we've released the lesser than and lesser than consciousness, unconsciousness of humanity to the maximum cosmic law can allow at this time. By honoring within us, we are releasing our own abuse, our own pain, dissolving, collapsing these timelines as we transcend these old memories, these old karmic timelines. And having a sense too of the timeline of the fall of consciousness, particularly the fall of Atlantis. Knowing that we are able to transcend and shift frequency out of these timelines, feelings and thoughts, simply by shifting frequency and increasing our vibration through the threefold flame within our loving hearts. We release judgment of self, judgment of others. We release blame and the victim-persecutor consciousness, and the knowing that all is love. So we say to ourselves, I love you, I love you, I love you. And now we bring our focus back to our loving heart. This golden solar sun disk representing our innocence and purity becomes this beautiful golden rose, crystals, sapphire. Divine alchemical marriage of our divine masculine and divine feminine spirits, releasing the subjugation, victimhood, and persecution of the divine masculine, divine feminine spirits through all timelines, parallel realities, the universes, and dimensions. Out in the heart of love. We now birth our magical innocent child, connecting into Andromeda's and divine masculine, into the Milky Ways of divine feminine, merging into the galactic timelines too, of empowerment, wisdom, love, our purity, our holy innocence, as we now anchor, activate, and integrate the codes of new earth coming on right here, right now. As we feel and see and sense all from deep within. We fine-tune our body, energy, and our hologram to the maximum cosmic law can allow at this time. Breathing in love, breathing out love, feeling and sensing our purity and innocence from within, and experiencing now new earth from the highest state, cosmic consciousness awareness we can experience in this world. As one heart, and one love, and one unified field of light. As our entire body and being tunes to new earth, allowing for these new earth grids and templates to come alive from within the body, to the places and spaces within, where harmony and love, abundance and unity, trust and surrender, grace and ease truly exists as all that is. As we continue to breathe deep into the body, sensing and visualizing the threefold flame of power, love and wisdom, activating in the loving heart, merging the higher mind with the loving heart, collapsing and transcending all timelines, all difficulties. You perceive and feel and experience the softness within the body, complete surrender, trust, ready to burn the next level of our new earth service work, of our new earth creation, in community, unity, and love. Assisting us to ascend from one moment to the next, with greater levels of clarity, perception, and truth. Feel and sense the new energies and light consciousness from our body. So our light body DNA starts to activate the light curves, the light packets of information from within, the new equities and templates in experience and energy of the one heart. As our new earth consciousness replaces old earth consciousness, integrate the photonic light, sunlight, access the codes from within, unlock and expand the new earth grids, templates, stargates, and portals and vortices. As we open now the golden door of our loving hearts into new earth, into our heaven on earth. We just bring ourselves back into the sacred space, expanding ourselves, connecting once more to the energy of the earth, to the energy of the heart, to the energy of one another, as one love, one unified field of light. So we take a moment to say to ourselves once more, I love you, giving our full name. I love you. I love you. Oh, that feels so nice. Just coming back into this sacred space, just completely expanded. Just so beautiful to feel so many hearts connected as one. And really just moving slowly and lovingly and gently, and feeling that as we move into deeper levels of trust and surrender and our magnificence and our divinity. So it's a truly beautiful now moment that we are moving through in the sacred new earth, and all that we can experience, and all that we are already doing. So just taking a moment to acknowledge and honor our collective light tribe, our collective I am avatar consciousness, our beautiful light that shines so brightly upon the sacred earth. So thank you so very much to all those beautiful, beautiful hearts that are joining us, and all those that are going to be listening to the recording, and just all of you are just doing the most incredible and amazing work. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to spend a few minutes to take some questions. I think that might be quite nice, see where people are. I know that what I've said is that I'm happy to offer some mini ray readings, because that is something that I can do. I can read your energy. And although we didn't really move much into all the expression of the rays, and I think that's also really important, because it's recognizing that we actually do experience all these ray qualities at different times, and we experience it through plasma light, as I was expressing, and you might see those colors coming through from the sun sometimes, or you might see those different hues and shades even in your garden or when you're out in nature. And of course the moon is bringing through that plasma light to those frequencies and energies in different ways. Even the auroras, for those that are lucky enough to see them, that's plasma light, and many of it would hold particular qualities and frequencies and energies that we are also integrating. And in fact, there's a whole band of that electromagnetic frequency that holds plasma light around the sacred earth and is connected into the unity grid of divine love. So it's really an amazing time because all the grids are alive and we are just more and more of us are just awakening. So we can think of this as that ascension process that we were all going through in 2012, that shift in consciousness. That's really essentially what this is right now. So I'm going to take a few questions right now, and when you raise your hand, if you're joining us now, then what I will do is I will invite you to join us, and you can talk about anything. You can tell us about where you are, what you're doing in your life, what you're going through. Have in mind a specific question, something that you may like to ask or get some guidance from, or something that you're going through that we can share, and just offer guidance to that too. Just before I do that, there are just a couple of acknowledgements I'd like to make. One is to, an incredible way, show a new facilitator, Lisa Transcendence Brown. Although many of my experiences are my own, I have certainly used or expressed a deeper understanding of what I share through some of her templates, new templates. So I'd like to acknowledge her for that, because while many of us are moving into these newer templates and experiencing those levels of consciousness and just deepening into our own magnificent light, for a long time, for me in particular, it was I had no real sense of, where are we in this new frequency and energy, and what's been experienced at this moment, although experiencing it, didn't really have the terminology or the words for it. So I'd like to honor Lisa as just really one of our most incredible New Earth guides. And for those of you that don't know her work, please do look her up online, because she has just absolutely incredible resources, an amazing website of so many teachings, as well as a wonderful YouTube channel. And, she really has been an ascended being for many, many, many years. So I'm absolutely just delighted to be able to draw upon so many of those beautiful teachings that she shares so freely for us. And also to mention that Lisa and her partner are moving into that next level of their service work, and those creating the template at that high level of consciousness and how they now show up as New Earth communities. This is really where the expression of their next level of service is coming online. So apart from sending our absolute love and just amazing gratitude for those who may be familiar with Lisa's teaching, if you're able to, at this stage, offer financial donation, the energy of money, is something right now that would really just expand and escalate that next level of the service work that they really are putting together for all of us. We're following those templates, but there's very, very few people that are creating those templates, and Lisa Transcendence Brown is one of them. So please do just consider going to her website if nothing else, and if anything does resonate with you, just sending just an amazing donation from your heart in appreciation for all of that. Then there is one other person that comes to mind that I actually wanted to very briefly share a small story with, and that is Untitled King. A few weeks ago, probably about a couple of weeks ago, I received an email, as I'm sure many did that were on her e-list, that she was transitioning, she was passing over, and that she had had cancer for the last 4 years. And Untitled King was also an amazing light worker that has been around for many, many, many years, assisting the shift of consciousness of the sacred earth and going to so many places as well. She was absolutely amazing, not only way shower, but grid keeper, gatekeeper. And she just did absolutely amazing activations and ceremonies in a lot of different countries and a lot of different sacred sites, and of course just a lot of different places, and shared what she was seeing. And she did absolutely amazing art as well, and offered really just an incredible monthly sort of cosmic astrological forecast. And I really look forward to that, and I look forward to the posts on Facebook. And so when I received that, instantly I just tuned in, and I saw so many of us holding that space for Sunundra. It was probably within a 72-hour period. And I just wanted to honor her amazing, incredible light work. And that inner plane quantum connection was so strong. There were so many of us, the waves upon waves of light workers, just holding her in just this absolutely magnificent light of reverence and gratitude for all that she did. And really just allowing her to know that it's okay, you know, really just it's time for you to move into where you next need to go. And we're here holding you with absolute love and reverence and gratitude for all that you have done for us. So thank you, thank you. And I wanted to share that because it just really, I feel more and more that those quantum field connections are so visible and so tangible. And that's really how we communicate to New Earth as well. We don't necessarily tune in and we experience a lot of the gifts coming online, and we talk about that. We become more telepathic. We read each other's thoughts. We connect quantumly. We have conversations and we experience teachings. And, you know, there's so many of those other gifts that we call them gifts initially, but actually they're not gifts. They are, you know, just a normal state of being that we're coming to remember, which is our multi-dimensional consciousness and coming online. So, yeah, just a heartfelt call out to many that joined there, that you may have felt that connection with Sanandra King at that time. So thank you for all of us that are just holding that light upon the sacred earth. All right, so I think there's time for some questions. That would be lovely. Let's just have a look at what we've got there. All right, good. Let me just, all right, so we are going to have a look at what to do here. I think I've got Jen, I've got Heather. I'm going to put you both. But Heather Ribs, you can join us, and Ben Cunnings, you can also join us. All right, good. And then we also have Sophia Norman. All right, wonderful. Good. So we'll start with each one of you one at a time, where you're most welcome to ask your questions. And, you know, you're most welcome, if you would like, to put your camera on, if you would like to. So,
how do we do that?
Oh, okay. I have no idea. Oh, there we go. Few of them have done it. I think there must be. There we go. There's Jen. There's Heather. Sophia, I think there must be like a little button on your side that will show you that how you can unmute yourself. How you can turn your video on. There you go. You got it. Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you for joining us. So what I did say that I would offer is mini ray readings. But before I get into doing that, let's just catch up with each of you and, you know, just tell us your question, what it is that you might like to share. And we can start with you, Heather.
Hello, and thank you very much for all your service work and holding the light for so long. My question is personal. I've been letting go of a lot of shame and guilt around childhood molestation, and I'm just wondering. You said you can read my energy. I'm wondering if there's any advice, or can you see any blocks that I might not see, or I don't know what my question is.
Yes. You were just saying that you're working with a lot of clearing, but in particular around sexual abuse or abuse. So that's actually very interesting, because that's a very, very big one that's coming up. And actually what's the last few days, also as I've been tuning in, what's being dismantled right now is the guru consciousness. And a lot of that was giving our power away. And within that too, there was a lot of sexual abuse that was actually going on. So, you know, it's like where those that were waking up and they were still like, you know, kind of looking outside themselves, and they find a lot of teachers and guides. And I'll come back to you specifically now, Heather. Part of that is what's being dismantled right now. So we've seen a lot of those that were so-called spiritual teachers, and that's not to say that they didn't have, you know, some beautiful things that they were sharing at some stage, but they moved into that abuse and misuse of power, and a large one of that was sexual abuse, and it's coming up on the planet to be cleared right now. So many of us have had that experience in different ways, because we are so strong and courageous that we can actually hold and amplify that light field to be clearing not only the abused energy that's been experienced, but sexual abuse in particular. This is the rise of the divine feminine. This is the sacredcy of the rise of the divine feminine. But when something like that happens, as you know, Heather, it's very difficult to say, oh, well, that was an illusion, or, okay, that was an experience I chose with my soul, because, of course, we may recognize that from a higher perspective, but until we reach that higher perspective, we're still traversing the 3 and 4th dimensional levels of consciousness, where we actually have to go compassionately and gently into loving that inner child, because that experience occurred when you were quite young. So whether it's the child, the young teenager, that's the person that all the time they just keep coming up, you just love it. You just love it, you just bring it into your loving heart, because it's not only victim persecutor consciousness that's experienced and judgment and blame, but it's also guilt. You know, so it's like, and shame. So and when I see it, that's like looking at you at that age where you were, apart from the fact that you were vulnerable and didn't know who to trust, and you would have trust issues later, at that day and age, it wasn't really something that you spoke to people about. You know, we live in a completely different timeline and level of consciousness where if something happens like that to us, like we have a voice now. Even if we're a younger person, we have a voice. You know, there's someone that we feel possibly we can share that with. But when we are in a place where we perceive we don't have any voice, where we perceive we don't know that there's anyone to trust, where we perceive that we have to hold it in, and then the guilt and the shame starts to eat away. That's all that you've got to nurture and love within yourself, because it's no longer, you've got to honor yourself, which is what you are. It's this courageous, amazing, incredible being that every experience you chose was because you could transcend it to know yourself as love. But in order to transcend it, you've got to go and sit with those feelings, no matter how uncomfortable they are. And in this instance for you, it's like going back to that inner child and loving her, and just keep loving her, and releasing the blame, and releasing the judgment, and releasing the anger around that, because there's still parts of that are still there. And you've got to recognize that your own anger and whatever happened was a catalyst to it. And of course, it doesn't stop the trauma of those cellular memories. But that's right now, that is what is spinning and increasing light frequencies to lift your consciousness, to elevate you to a deeper level of knowing that you are loved, but feeling it. Because New Earth is a very physical experience where we're feeling at the same time as we fine-tuning and transcending. So it's like we can feel the pain, if the pain is coming up, and we can just love it. We can feel the joy and we can love it. We can feel that what happened to us was wrong, and it creates a whole lot of other catalysts that played out in different areas of your life. But you also recognize that there was a choice at each moment, and now that choice is simply to love and embrace. So it can take some time, particularly when old habits and patterns need to be dismantled. So the way that we do that is we look at like what is our toolbox. When we find ourselves in a space and place where the resentment is coming up, or the judgment, or the blame, or the old reaction, or the old way of communicating or experiencing things, it's like what is in our toolbox. So it's either you're going to go in and breathe, because the breath is consciousness, and then you can do whatever that resonating field of light is for you that allows that transformation to occur. Or you can go and have a shower, you can go have a bath, or you can get out and walk in nature, or you can lift not only your frequency and vibration, but also the frequency and vibration of your surroundings. Crystals, music, solfeggio frequencies, there's just so much that we can do. But part of the work of New Earth is very physical. So we go right into the physical body, because all the trauma is stuck in the physical body. For you, it's stuck in it's the lungs, it's the heart, it's the liver. So it's like going right into those places and spaces that need your love. And we do that with the right foods. We give our body also the right foods and the nutrients. And you can also take for yourself, there's 2 things that I recommend. What's coming up, and one is to drink crystal water. So you take your amethyst and your rose quartz and your quartz crystal, and you place them within sort of spring water, and you drink that throughout the day, because that will stabilize the sensory are, the light of God you are, to go and embrace that child and bring it into your loving heart and just love it, just completely love it. And when there are times where that feels too difficult, get out into nature. When there are times that feels too difficult, go and listen to some music, go and listen to something that uplifts your spirit, that uplifts your soul. So everything then is just, what can I do to allow I've got to sit with this initially until I've embraced it enough to be able to just simply send love when I need to into whatever's coming up, whatever judgment may be there. But things that have been experienced long term or old habits that have formed around those false beliefs and judgments through the trauma that you have experienced, it takes a little time. So just know that, the more that you can take that leap of faith into trusting and surrendering your innocence, your soul light, the easier it will become to just love, because it's just compassion. It's just compassion of loving you as the innocence that you are. And what happens initially is we have two voices. So we have the personality or the human or the unconscious aspect, and then we have the soul voice, the higher self, so the beloved I am presence. And so when we are reacting or when we start to negative self-talk or things that are happening that is creating an inflammation, that's creating a negative reaction, what we can do is just stop and pause and breathe and listen to the voice of the soul. Because the voice of the soul is the one that will say, it's okay. It's okay, Heather. You are so loved. You are so appreciated. Just love and nurture that child and bring it into your heart. And imagine just surrounding her in a beautiful pink flame and saying, it's okay, Heather. There's nothing anymore that is going to hurt you or harm you. And I love you so deeply, and we're empowered. Spiritual warrior, we're the light of God, the flame of divinity. We are loved. We are loved. It's okay, Heather. You just keep speaking to yourself like that until, as you embrace all within your loving heart, and some of those emotions are not comfortable initially, they start to shift.